Welcome back to This Week in Events for Friday, the 7th of November. And the top stories that we will be discussing this week include a lot of fuss is being made about the Eventex Awards. We have some news about this podcast show, and we're going to talk about 20-minute solo talks. Helping to discuss these topics is Paul Cook and Mr. Paul Richardson. Welcome, guys.
Good
To be
morning.
here.
So, how's your week been?
Well, it's the start of November, so it's just as mad as always in conference season, eh? So
Too true. Has anybody got over award season yet?
We'll probably have about 30 seconds worth of draw your breath, grab a cup of tea, and then we'll be straight back into it again, won't we? It seems to be an unending cycle of awards. Not that's a problem, but flipping heck, it does. The number of awards and the variety of awards is just amazing.
Well, this
Yeah.
beautifully segues in a very engineered kind of way. The Eventex Awards that seems to be making a lot of there's a lot of conversation about it, and not all of it is good. Some people are having I think just being whingy because they've got their own things going on, or does the Eventex Award is that more than a popularity contest?
well, it was a thing that caught my eye over the last week. So Eventex Awards, they have been going. They are now in their 16th year, and they involve something like 300 judges. Uh, they've got jury presidents, and I'm one of those jury presidents. We look at a batch of awards that come through, and these are put in by people that pay for entries. And then the judging process on the awards is very straightforward. You basically get a batch of entries, you go through, you put your kind of mark next to the criteria, and away it goes. And it goes into a big pot that we don't get to see what other people have put. So it is really nice and anonymous, but we're asked for any feedback as to whether it was really good or really, not so hot, and what people could do to improve. So they've been doing this now for that period of time, and it's really to help strengthen where the events industry is going with some of the work that it does. And also because you've got so many people involved, it does help create a bit of a kind of meeting community at the same time. So nothing wrong in that. I think that is perfectly good in the way that those things have been going. But what seems to have irritated some people in the events industry is the fact that some people do get nominated for being one of the most influential people in the events industry, and you don't know, as somebody that's been nominated, you don't necessarily know who's put you forward or why you're in there. And I think that's become the issue. So you get notified, you get emailed out to say, congratulations, you've been nominated to be in the top 100 of these people. And a couple of people have really taken annoyance at that. Well, they said, right, okay, I've got this, thank you, but don't vote for me. So they're telling all their followers on LinkedIn, don't vote for me. But more than that, someone said, well, hold on. Are these actually worth anything? Are they nothing more than a popularity contest? Which is it or is it not? I mean, I got nominated, but I'll put it up on LinkedIn. I'm not asking for anybody to vote for me. I'm just saying thank you very much to whoever nominated me. That's it. That's my thank you to them. Now, whether or not people do go in and say, yeah, they'll vote for Paul, it doesn't matter to me. Some people in the past have done that. Some people do say, can you vote for me? But, the Eventex Awards are no different in that respect to any of the other industry awards where people do ask you to vote for them being the best supplier, them being the best conference center or whatever. But these awards have really got all these nominations have got under the noses of certain people. And what they've said is, okay, there's a lack of clear transparency around these. And they've actually quoted Skift. And Skift have done a a really nice job on. Hold on a moment while I consult the papers.
It's the 15 most powerful people in meetings, etc.
That's right, 15 power people in the meetings space. And they've given an example of how they've done it. Is it by revenue? Is it by something else? Is it by moving and shaking the stuff that goes on in their companies? So see kind of other end of the scale, if you like. But all of these words, whether it's power, whether it's influence, they're all really subjective. And I think what's happened is that it feels as though some are being more accepted than others, which is interesting. And I can't really work out why. If they were doing this in their first year, and Eventex got a bit of a slap because, well, maybe it is a popular, but they've been doing it for 15 years. So why now? Why is this emerging now? Why is it even an issue? I don't understand. We've had awards forever, and we know they're subjective. We know that there are always going to be little quirks, but they do bring recognition to people. So I don't know what you guys think, but that's why it caught my eye.
It's the great award conundrum, isn't it? This is everything from pay-to-play awards through to free award entries that seem to be landing with there are some awards where the correlation between people who spend budget with the award organizer directly affects their ability to win a plethora of awards. I shan't name names for fear of lawsuits, but you don't need to be very bright and intelligent to go and have a look at who's spending money where and whether they seem to get a disproportionately large number of wins or highly commendeds coming through. It is what it is, and you have to accept that you are never. Well, I think you have to accept that you're never going to get a perfect set of awards that judge everything, because we're living in a world where one event might be for 50 people in a small room that has a specific set of objectives, and the other one might be 10,000 people in a field. And okay, we can subdivide them a bit, but trying to box them up, and I think Paul's absolutely right. It is very subjective. You kind of have to look and say, does this feel like it's an award or a person that's deserving of this because of that? The only thing I'd say, having just spent a couple of weekends going through award entries for a set of awards that are coming up shortly, the difference, you look at a chunk of, and here's me digging again at AI, but what is clearly AI generated, will throw some crap into Gemini or ChatGPT, and hopefully it'll spit out an award entry. And you read it, and it's a fabulous phrase in the fast-moving world of events, and you think, flipping heck, that's ChatGPT's opening phrase every time you ask it to do anything. So you see that, but then you see another award entry where somebody said, we had this number of people, it generated this number of leads, which equates to this amount of economic benefit for people. Or you have a person award that says this person's worked in this industry for this length of time, they started this number of businesses that have gone on to do this, and you start to look and you think, yeah, actually you really have got some cred. But that's watching it from this side. It'd be interesting on the ones that are a quasi-public beauty contest. Is that information given to the public? Do they get to look and say, hey, it's Bob and Paul are in this category. Let me go and have a look at, oh, Bob's CV in here looks really great. He's a real guy. Paul, well, this is just a bit of puffery around Paul and what he did, and there's no hard evidence, and it said he was a lovely man and he bought people coffees, but did he actually do anything? I don't know. Do they give people that level of depth, that level of ability to be able to have a checkbox? I mean, almost. I will cede the chair in a moment. Cede the floor in a moment, Mr. Chair. But it's whether you get to the point where you're saying, as an award entry, if you're going to go out to a public or industry judges, here's a checkbox with scores of 1 to 10. These are the things that you should be looking for. Download that, fill it in for each of your candidates, and then at the bottom, tot up the scores. Oh, yeah, right, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Paul's obviously done more, got more, therefore he's the guy I'll give 10 points to. Bob, well, yeah, lots of numbers on there, but none of them make any sense, so I'm going to give him a 3. But it adds some numerics or some measurement to it. I don't think we're ever going to get that perfect world, but they are what they are.
All we're doing at the moment is comparing different awards, ways of doing awards within the industry. But let's take a step out of the industry. People don't seem to have a problem with popularity contests. For example, TV Choice Awards, the most popular soap opera. So if that's acceptable generally, and people seem to vote for their most favorite TV show, can we not do the same within the industry? Is it not just as valuable?
Well, according to a couple of the people that got a little bit kind of under the collar, then yeah, I think there is. But you know, who's to say what's good or bad or who should be on there? I think it's, you know, I think, you know, Paul's right, where if you understand why somebody has been nominated, then maybe that takes it all of the sting out of all of the Eventex, because then people could go, yeah, okay, we understand why these people are in there now. But even they might, you know, maybe they're still not agree with that, but it doesn't matter. But I think awards have got a real place. I mean, the number of people that you see that will start their bio with award winning is just off the charts. And I think they do give the recognition to people that are doing a lot of work. I mean, the Meetings Industry Awards, where they really celebrate people behind the scenes in hospitality, really take my hat off to them. But I also remember some years ago when there were the Meeting Industry Marketing Awards, and Paul mentioned that there was similar idea that you would actually go to the awards evening, and it would be done in such a way that the winner and a judge would be invited up to the main stage, and then they would be kind of cross-examined a little bit by the host of the night, who would say, okay, so what was it, you know, the judge, that caught your eye about this? And then you get some background from the people that put it forward as to what they'd actually done as well. So I always found that was really useful to understand, oh, okay, right, they got the award, they did this, that's great. And there would always be kind of things that you could learn from that as well. You could say, yeah, that was a good idea. I wonder if we might be able to use that over here. So I think they had a way of helping everyone in the industry move forward. But I think when you get a best conference center in 25, and there's no explanation as to why, well, yeah, it's kind of, it feels a little bit almost undone, really. So I would like to see more where you do get to understand why these people have got these awards, because I think that helps us all in this space to be more creative, more entrepreneurial, more forward thinking or whatever.
Can I also put forward a slightly alternative view that the value of the Eventex Awards is, I think, is that somebody who's in the first flush of their career, maybe 3 or 4 years into their work within the event industry, whatever it is they're doing, and they get nominated for their good works, the fact that they've gone above and beyond and they've contributed massively to their friends and colleagues, to the business they work for, but they're quite a young person. And all of a sudden they get a nomination for the Eventex Award.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make that person kind of feel more positive about what they're doing? It's almost like I've been recognized unexpectedly for what I thought was normal everyday work, but it seems I'm doing above an extra. So is that, I would say that's more valuable than an awards night where not only do you have to pay to arrive at the awards to see it being given by a company who's paid to be there, or at least paid to be in a consideration. I think if you've been voted by or nominated by your friends and colleagues, that's got quite a lot of value to it, and it's quite important to that person who's been nominated.
Yeah, I think just veering tangentially off that, I think the cost of awards tickets are really outrageous, to be honest.
We have talked about
Because
that, haven't we?
we have talked about that, because if you are, you know, if you're a freelancer or you're a small business and you are being asked and you want to go along, you want to see people that you work with, in various ways to, to see if they actually win. If you're looking at, I don't know, a ticket price and then accommodation and then travel and time out, then it really does stack up. So you have to be thinking about, okay, can I really, they're almost priced out. And I wish they could be a bit better, because they got sponsors left, right, and centre that are doing the table water or whatever it is. They just don't see, if you're going to take a table as well, so you want to say, yeah, come and see me win my award. There's a table of 10 people that I have to bring. It's really, really significant investments for people. I'm not sure why awards are so expensive.
Because it's a very profitable business. It's a very profitable line of business.
It is, yeah.
We wouldn't be awash with awards if it wasn't. I mean, people spot the opportunity, and they obviously see the benefit, because they take the tables, and when you look at some tables of 10, you're looking for some awards at £10,000 a table.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take I mean, okay, I may have A-level maths, but that was a long time ago. But you look at it and you go, table of 10, £10,000, £1,000 a seat, and there's 120 tables. But that's the wow, right? No, well, no wonder they can afford a top line comedian, an A-list comedian, to come on and do the presentations for the awards. I'll throw a counterpoint to this, and this isn't just because we're at the show next week, but the Eventex Live Awards, the Eventex Awards, happen after the show. So there is the show, and then once you've hoovered all of the guests out and ushered them off into the rest of Excel, closed the doors, everybody then gathers. So guests and exhibitors go and gather around the stage, and the awards are presented there and then after the show. So it's a very intimate feel of people in the industry rewarding people in the industry for what's been done. And that has a kind of, and I'm at risk of never having an award shortlisted again as long as we are in the industry, but it has a more wholesome feel about it. It just feels like and they've got a popularity contest. They've got the most popular event tech company, and you look down the list of those, and you look down the list of them, and you kind of go, yeah, get that, yeah, they're a good bunch, they're decent folk, and it kind of solidifies that. But I think it was quite a brave move, because they used to host it in a separate venue, so people go from the show, go get spruced up, then go off and go to the awards, which gave it a lovely feel, but became financially prohibitive.
Yeah, I remember
so
I went to one of their early ones. Yeah.
So just to round this off, then, in one sentence, Eventex, I should say, awards. One sentence view. What do you think?
Well, they're two different things. The Eventex Awards, yeah, absolutely. They need to crack on with those the whole time, because they are completely transparent, etc., etc. And that is the awards piece. The nominations and what's going on with there, yeah, it depends on how you get nominated, but it's not a bad thing. I think it gives people that may not have been acknowledged some degree of presence. So yeah, I still think it's good.
Yeah, I think there are enough awards out there of enough variety and different types for it to suit, for there to be space for somebody to get the best out of the awards in their place. It's such a diverse market, and it's so varied. Yeah, they're a good. I personally think they're a good thing. Even if for the very least of benefits, it gives the team involved a good feeling that, hey, we're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So we've mentioned ETL a couple of times. So we got some news about what we do, guys. So all three of us, plus Jill Hawkins, I believe, we will be at Eventex Live. Thursday, we will be recording a live episode. Can you record a live episode? Does that make sense? Having an episode that's actually recorded and broadcast later. But yeah, we are recording at Eventex Live. Thank you very much to First Sight Media for their support in making this happen. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting, guys.
you want to tell the listeners what day it is? What date, rather? Is it 12th, right? 12th November.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's a good point. Thank you for being
Yep.
sensible. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's
and-
so it's 2-day event. So it's the 12th and the 13th, Wednesday and the Thursday, which is next week from the time that this was recorded. And it's on the first day. We're recording, I think, about 11 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know whether people can actually gather around and listen to us make fools of ourselves, or whether they get a chance to throw things at us. I don't know. Going to see how that works. But it's exciting, I think.
Yeah. We only need to worry if they bring out the stocks.
Yeah, hold up placards or
that wear your best running shoes just in case.
yeah.
Yeah, precisely.
Maybe people will just turn up with scorecards and just hold up, like they do at various other competitions, you know, like ice skating, where they hold up the cards with the numbers on it. You know, they just go, oh, that's a 7. If it's consistently under 6, well, we might just sort of like not bother. We'll just cut it short and run away.
Right, so Eventex Live going to be there next week on the 12th of November for anybody that wants to come and see us doing stuff, which is another lovely segue, isn't it, into the last kind of thing that you want to talk about today, which involves the lovely Vanessa Lovett.
Yeah. Well, not the last
Yeah.
thing, because we need to talk about the funny logos from 2 different
Yes, the
associations.
funny
but
logos are the
we'll
last
cover
thing,
that in a minute. But yes, Vanessa Lovett, I think. Now, this was posted on LinkedIn.
Yeah. It was Vanessa posted on LinkedIn about a couple of meetings she'd been to. One of which was the CHS Birmingham, and one of was Brighton SEO. 2 events packed with content, packed with things happening. And for Brighton SEO, she was just saying, in terms of a format, short, punchy sessions. So information given in 20-minute slots, solo talks, people sharing information, advice, takeaways. She was just saying that it provides. She saw 30 people in 12 hours on site. I mean, I take my hat off to for that, and the capacity to endure 12 hours as a visitor to an event. So she wins a gold star for me for that one alone. But she managed to hear 30 speakers, and she said that's a minimum of 30. Well, it's 30 unique insights from different people, and if you take one actionable takeaway from each one, that's 30 pieces that you can take back and deploy after the event. And I was just thinking, what would be the advantages of that? And Vanessa highlights if it's just you or it's just a solo presenter, then the message stays on track. So you keep the message in line and away you go, unless you've got a Q&A session somewhere in there that will happily derail what it is you're presenting. And there's various arguments about whether you should or shouldn't have a Q&A, because if you have a Q&A and you get taken off at different off at a tangent, what do people remember when they leave? Do they remember the awkward silence when you try and remember what the answer was to a question that you've just been asked, or do they remember the key point that you made 5 minutes into your presentation? So there is an element of saying it should be talk and chalk and thank you very much, goodbye. So she's saying there's no overlapping ideas, no panelists backing up each other, repeating the same message, confirming what the other one has said. It's not an in-depth interrogation of a subject. If you, I think it's a different format if you're going to go and sit and listen to the head of, let's say, neurosurgery talking about a procedure that you may have to show a video and talk in depth about. That's a different kind of animal. These are kind of business to business conversations and sharing and imparting information and knowledge. And showing the sweet spots around about 20 minutes. So why do we still have 40, 45 minutes when people, I'd love to know what the average time it is for somebody's bum to go flat sitting on an uncomfortable chair, because that's got to be the point at which, when does your level of discomfort become more important in your head than listening to what the person on stage is saying? It has a bearing. It's why have modern cinemas got massive sofas and armchairs for you to sit in? Because they want you to be completely comfortable so you can be completely absorbed by the cinematic experience. If you've got people sitting on typical event furniture, or pods or beanbags or whatever the trend is currently this week, you need to deliver something that can be absorbed in a very precise burst of information. So I like this. I like the idea. I think it's something that it's a piece put onto LinkedIn, but I think there's a piece of thought leadership, if you want to call it that. That Vanessa actually should take this further out into the field and bang on a few doors of publications, because I think it has merit.
I do agree, and it might actually encourage people to. It's quite daunting to speak on stage for 40 minutes. It's not everybody. There are certain people in the industry who will find it very comfortable because it's their job. It's they emceeing or DJing the whole event, and they're doing it live on stage. They talk for ages. But if you're just not that comfortable, but you really want to do it, 20 minutes might actually be something you can cope with.
Well, I think there's so much to unpack in that. Because we're into whatever the content is and how well that's been put together. If we're talking of, situations where you want key headlines coming out in a 20-minute slot and that's it, kind of bang, bang, bang. Yeah, great. I totally understand that. Back in 2011, I remember inviting several speakers to what I called a speaker showcase. And I said to them that I don't want your 45-minute keynote. I don't want that. This audience, we want 15 minutes. I gave them 15 minutes. The amount of pushback I got from some of the speakers, I said, no, I can't do it. I'm not coming to your, I'm not going to come to your event. Other speakers did. And they were really quite good because they really, understood how to make the key content into that slot, and people enjoyed it. So yeah, I think that's right. And I think, isn't it, Ted, that they're like 18 minutes? But I guess it depends how far you want to go into a subject, because sometimes you're only just going to get started. Maybe 20 minutes could be a block. You could have two 20-minute blocks of a 40-minute. It depends on how you want to break down the content. But I think if people are really into a subject and absorbing it, then they will listen for a lot longer that period. Personally, I don't believe there's a point at which we'll go, I can't take any more. I think where we can't take more is when we've got so much information coming in that we struggle to kind of deal with some of that stuff. But, if you go to the cinema and you can quite easily watch whatever your favorite film is and sit there for 3 hours and not even notice the time going because it's been delivered in such a way and you're not thinking of it as work, then that is different. So I think we all get to take in information and in different ways. I think if you were doing 20 minutes and you had a whole day of that at a conference, that would just blow my head. I'd feel that I was getting started and then stopped and then started and stopped, and it would feel a bit too staccato for me. But it's just me personally, I could easily go to a couple and then I'd probably want a longer thing. So it depends. If we're mixing and matching these things up, then yes, great. But getting people to really get concise with what they're saying without going into how many people they've got in their company, how many offices they've got, why they're global, all of these things, which take time, which doesn't need to be said. If you get right into the nuggets, which is quite a skill, then yeah, great, bring it on. But I don't think I wouldn't advocate that all planners suddenly go, right, 20 minutes everywhere, because it would just be so samey and so dull, and you wouldn't ever get really under the hood of some issues.
I get that point, but from a very practical point of view, if you are at one of the upcoming trade shows and and they've got 2 stages, maybe 3 stages, doing 40-minute presentations. For someone who's arriving and has pre-booked meetings or maybe invited to a meeting as a result of talking to an exhibitor, you're more likely to do a 20-minute session than you are a 40-minute session because you won't have the time. You've got meetings coming up. So if you are going to go to a 40-minute meeting, but 40-minute session, but 15 minutes into that, you have to leave for your meeting. You're not going to do the session. So would it be not more practical to have the 20 minutes one where you're hit with a very specific topic and told specific things without the presenter wandering off into, as you say, company sizes and their worldwide reach? I quite like the idea of sort of like, well, I could do these three because I can put them around my meetings.
I think, yeah, it depends on what you're at. So if in that, if you're at a trade show, then yeah, I totally get that. But if you're at a conference, then it feels different. I think you have to put these things in for where they're going to be, have most impact.
Yeah.
We actually did I did a Prachar Kachar event one time. It was part of a bigger event. And on that, you've got 20 seconds per slide, and there are 20 slides. So it goes on for just over like 6 minutes. And that, if there's going to be one thing that levels the playing field with sponsors all having the same amount of time to talk about their product, then that's a great way that they can showcase. It is really challenging to do, but it's also good because it forces you to just put out what the kind of golden nuggets are that people need.
Last thought with you, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's okay if it's a product presentation. I think, Paul, you touched on this, and it kind of reinforced the point I made. Is if you're at a conference for neurosurgeons, you're at a conference to listen to people talking about things in great depth and at length. What this is talking about more specifically is people at a mixed event where you will have exhibition stands, because as an exhibitor and somebody who pays for an exhibition stand, nothing hacks me off more than when everybody disappears off to watch content.
Yeah.
And there's somebody, worst of all, is when there is a competitor providing content, doesn't have a stand, hasn't invested in the show itself, and is merrily going and standing on platforms, and you're standing looking, thinking, how is that helping anybody? Well, anybody that pays for the event to happen. The exhibitors seem to be the lowest form of life at a mixed exhibition and conference, because of this last decade or so of obsession with content. We've lost the track of what it is. It's to put products and services in front of a buying group. The content is there to bring them in. It's not the end in and of itself, but that's what it seems to have become. I gave Bob a quick example earlier from quite a long time ago. When I was client side, we went to a construction show at the BDC, and it was an evening session, 6 till 9, and we were sold a stand space on the mezzanine floor in the centre of the BDC, and there were about 40 exhibitors there with products specifically for the specifier market. The architects came up the side stairs, went into the meeting rooms, watched the meeting room, came down the side stairs and disappeared off home. The only one person came down the stairs onto the show floor, and the poor guy was about 2 steps off the bottom when he realized his mistake, because there were about 40 sales personnel sharpening their new business daggers and heading for this poor bloke who they'd been salivating over this audience they were going to get and see, and one person was brave enough to step on the show floor, and he was just mobbed by people. So it was almost like, come with us, let's walk you round this exhibition one stand at a time so you see everything. But I did overemphasize that for effect, but it was the fact that people had paid to be there, which funded the entire event, but the content overshadowed it.
So the thing I think also needs to be, another thing that's a problem is that you go to an exhibition stand and you want to talk to that top guy, the expert who you need to be speaking to, but you can't because he's sitting in a 40-minute session. He's not due out for quite some time. So I think exhibitors need to question whether they need to be taking part in these lengthy sessions or not.
Yeah, I think give that context of the trade shows, when you're looking at what the trade show purpose is, absolutely right. These sessions work really well, and you wouldn't want them anymore. But if you look at some of the trade shows, I mean, they will be doing longer than than 40 minutes. Some are on for an hour of a keynote, and that's kind of where they are now. If they are also producing, like, I know, 80 odd, if they are producing multiple sessions across the days, then you do get that thing where people will come off the show floor. So that's where I think Meta, that we're familiar with, Meetings, Events Support Association, they do their little campfire discussions, and they actually do them on the stands, but they have a series of different topics going on across the day or the 2 days, and they are 20-minute bite-sized pieces. So people can come, they get aware of what the association offers and all the people that are taking part as stand sharers, but they also get to listen to some education. So maybe that is more of the way to go, because then you are able to talk to people and give them some information as well.
Well, I think we'll end that particular topic. Let's just do a quick 5 minutes on this crazy situation where the Association of Association Executives and the Society of Association Executives have remarkably similar logos. Now, the Indian-based Society of Association Executives, I'm glad they got an abbreviation, so I want to keep saying that all the time. They're basically a newcomer. They're quite a recent creation, and their logo looks extraordinarily similar to the Association of Association Executives. Again, I'm glad they've abbreviated, who've been around for an awful lot longer, talking to lawyers to try and take action against this similarity.
I yeah, you're dead right. I mean, this okay, so this came up in Association Meetings International, I think, where they brought this article, and you quite rightly say cease and desist notices have been issued by the Association of Association Executives, Damien Hutt's organization. But it kind of beggars belief, actually, because looking at the logos and the word, they're very similar in colors and design. It's whether or not it was inadvertently copied by accident, or somebody magically had this idea of, yeah, let's do this, and hadn't checked out and done any homework. Well, we will never know. But if I don't really think it works for either of them, because I think you just end up confusing people. If they were in different product spaces, then I don't think it would matter. You would know, okay, I'm here to buy whatever it is, and actually, yeah, this is the wrong place for me. But being that they're after similar people to join their association, then I think it's going to get very confusing on both sides. So something needs to be kind of sorted out. But yeah, I mean, down to the colors being similar with the purples and the lettering and the whole kind of
Well,
design.
the
It's just
design is
weird.
on a theme of people in a circle. It's very stylized, but it's basically people in a circle. It's a multitude of dots, and out the dots is stylized arms coming out like a group hug, very similar to the Ubuntu operating system and company has a logo. It's probably very difficult to actually come up with any sort of differentiation. There's nothing that's going to be unique if you're going to follow that design style. You'll see it. I'll put the link in to the article in the show notes so people go and judge for themselves what they think. But to your point that who knows why? Well, I think the Indian-based company, Society of Association Executives, isn't that name itself very close to Association of Association Executives? I mean, I'm not saying that they're deliberately gone out there to copy and steal to make profit, but boy, is it close.
No, there's also other associations that have got executives in the title. I think there's the European Society of American Executives, or something along those lines. I'd have to look it up for sure. But even Damien's Association of Association Execs is not a million miles away from some of the already established associations before his time. So if you're an association exec, I don't know if you'd know if you were coming or going unless there's real differentiation between them.
Yeah, I think Paul's point is a good one. That if you're in the partly this is again that it's the design company that's involved in creating this, or their own internal people, or whoever's had the hand on the creative pulse of this. As soon as ever they get the brief from that organization, some of the first bits of research is who are your competitors. And there's you can be arrogant enough to say I don't have any competitors, there's nobody else, we're unique. But if you grow up and behave sensibly for a minute and say, right, what are the intentions of people to go, what other organizations might they join, what other things are out there, because you need to clearly differentiate yourself from that surely should have been the first part of the design research process. The people look around and say, what's already out there, because we need to have clear differentiation. Now, if that's been done and has been a deliberate, well, let's get as close to them as we can and we can leech their membership into us, then obviously then they can take whatever action they need to on that, because it could, I suppose, in the UK it would be argued that it was passing off. But in I don't know how that works in the associations market, but I think it would be highly questionable. But you do the research first. You surely would look. I mean, the irony is, well, there is a Vivid Inc. in existence, other than ourselves. In fact, there's 2 or 3. But one of them that we get the regular emails and communication from is a set of tattoo parlours throughout the West Midlands, and we've been asked to tattoo and pierce some very interesting things in our time. And whilst we're willing to help anybody out, I think our artistic creativity with a pen and a pin and the and the other accoutrements we have in the office probably wouldn't give them the desired effect. The same is, there's a restaurant which uses the same font as us and is called Vivid, and I can't remember what the second bit is, just outside Harrogate Exhibition Centre. And nobody's going to confuse us with a restaurant. It just isn't there. We're different marketplaces with different audience. And okay, some people coming out of the exhibition hall might think that we've branched out into catering, but unlikely. But if it's right up against, if somebody else set up in event industry PR with a name like ours, or with a logo like ours, or like the icon, then I'd be concerned about that. It just seems a very strange thing to do.
I've just found the one that I was trying to remember, and there is another body, not Damien's, not the Indian guys, but there's a European Society of Association Executives based out of Brussels. So again, you've got association execs in the title there. So I'm very confused if I'm an association exec as to which one of these 3 or more.
It's either they're lacking imagination, or it's so competitive and so profitable that they're just throwing names in there, just coming up with the different combinations of words in different orders. It's a crazy situation.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that will do. I think we'll end the episode here. So thank you both for taking part. Really appreciate it. We would love your feedback about 20-minute solo talks. Very important, because what people think is important, because you don't want to be sitting, you may not want to sit there for 40 minutes listening to something that could be done in 20. So how you think it should be done would be great feedback to have. And also what you think of the Eventex Awards. Good, bad, popularity contest, is it or not? So let us know what you think. So again, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Good to be here.
Good to be here.
And here's to Eventex Live. This Week in Events is a production for the EPN Journal podcast. Huge thanks to our patrons, partners and industry friends for helping to make this possible. Details of how you can be a patron are in the show notes and on the EPN Journal website. Thanks for listening.